Ayo, welcome to Benchwarmers, a WOSO podcast, episode 46. 46, Leggy. Any 46s on the cards? Have you got any 46s?
I didn't do my
Not off the
research
head.
before, but I
You
reckon there
didn't.
are.
There is one right off the dome. Don't even have to look it up. I hope she has a better season than she did last season. The breakout was crazy, but I need her to up her levels for the citizens. It's Lily Murphy in the 46, hoping. I blame which Chelsea player was it who absolutely flattened her shoulder? Who was it? Or did she just fall over? She didn't fall over the ball. I feel like she got tackled and then her shoulder gave out. Maybe it's probably Millie. Yeah, Millie and Lily. Probably Millie and Lily. It was an illy agenda, but I hope she comes back because there may be a Brazilian shaped hole in our wing slots and we might need someone to step up onto the mantle. But especially in other competitions like Europe, which is where we are going to start this podcast, episode 46. We've done all the top 5 leagues. Leggy, we are now moving on to the Champions League / just Europe, top 5 leagues as a whole. We're going for our ultimate team of the season, basically. Leggy, I don't even have to guess your formation. I know what's about to happen. I know what's going on. It's definitely going to be a 3-5-2 Leggy ball moment, but I want you to kick it off with your team.
Yeah, so we don't have to go through every player individually like we have done for the last few weeks.
Because we've talked about them all. Basically, all have, unless we really haven't mentioned them a little bit in a team of the season context. That would probably be important.
I only have one player, and I think that player is self-explanatory as to why I picked them. And if you want to go back to all 46 episodes, I mentioned her at least once for a reason. But
hilarious.
My team starts with Katakoi.
Katakoi. You didn't put Katakoi as your Liga F team of the season keeper. Surely you had Misa like me as well. Yeah, Misa was goated.
But Misa was just exceptional in the Liga F, and then Katakoi stepped up in the Champions League.
Or specifically in the final. Holy moly! What
true.
A final! That's the big moment to talk about. But yeah, holy crap! That was I love how Katakoi is the one Barcelona player where everyone's they could actually get a better goalie, and then she plays well, and everyone forgets that she's actually a good goalie.
Yeah, I think everybody had that conversation about AKB as well when she was playing at Chelsea, and then
silly agendas. The best goalkeepers play for the best teams. It's not rocket science. But yeah, kick me off. Have you done your fullback moment? Have you done 2 centre backs, 3 centre backs? What are we doing here?
I've gone 1 centre back and 2 fullbacks that have turned into a 3-back.
She's a genius. Guys, she is the greatest manager of all time.
I don't know about that, but Emily Fox on my right-sided centre half, and then you have Mappy Lyon, and then on the left-sided centre half, Esme Brutes, all pretty self-explanatory. I think that they've just, the consistency of all 3 have been amazing this season in all competitions. And then if we can go into our fullbacks, because I might as well, because they're not fullbacks, because they're wingers. Clara Ball on my left-hand side.
Clara Ball, the track back goat.
Yeah. And CGH on the right-hand side.
Fair enough. You put Vicky Liga F and then Caro in the Champo?
Yeah, and that was mostly because of her Champions League form, but also because I think that Vicky had deserved that team of the season nomination for the Liga F for a couple of seasons now, and I think it was just worth it in the amount of games that she played. And then my 2 double pivots, Alexia Bateas and Giuliano. Alexia actually didn't have in my Liga team. Yeah, I didn't have Alexia in my Liga team of the season because I didn't necessarily think she played enough, and I think she's exceptional and she's an amazing footballer, but what she showed in the Champions League, her goals, her ability to just completely change a game off her own foot have been amazing, and we saw it in the latter stages of the Champions League, particularly in that semi-final at the Camp Nou. And Giuliano, I really wanted to add a Serie A player in, and I think that out of all the players that deserve a pick from a team outside of the big Champions League teams, I think it's Giuliano, and I think she is probably the most defensive player in this team, and she's not even that much.
She's the deep lying playmaker. she's the magical magisterial footballer that has to get a nod for her work. Champions League, even though they got knocked out pretty much prematurely, or as premature as it can be, basically, unless you're unless you're Frankfurt. But Roma didn't have the Champions League it was meant to be, but she wasn't terrible in those games. The games where they were supposed to deliver, I feel like there was just too much on the league, and they would definitely probably rode the domestic high, and obviously achieving a double is a testament to her. So I have no issue with that.
In my 10, I have Alessia Russo. I think that her role in the 10 this year has been, particularly in this calendar year, has been quite amazing, especially not just her goal scoring from that deeper position, but her playmaking, her ability to control the ball. And I think that in the Champions League, she did as best as she could. We recognize that she had a few ups and downs across the season. I think that there were games that we expected as fans more, but if I was going to pick any Arsenal player in this team of the season, it had to be Alessia Russo. She just is one of, if not our best players.
I mean, it's interesting because she's kind of a 10, but she scores like a striker and facilitates like a 10, but it's not the same. It's not like when Viv moved deeper. Viv is a genuine playmaker, creator. Again, a lot of pass to assists for a player like Russo, who threads it to a winger, and then that winger threads it back to her or back to Stenius, and it's like you won't get the credit for the GA, but obviously Russo makes that front post run that brings the defender away, so Stina gets an open tap in, and it's just like her football IQ. I mean, with a player like Stanway as well, will obviously facilitate even greater gains. I think that's the scary part about Alessia Russo, is I still don't think maybe this was her peak in the Champions League, but it definitely certainly was not her peak in the Premier League, the WSL, and I think that's the goal for next year with a player like Stanway. I think the goal is to mold those two together so that they can get the best out of the league. I mean, even Renee said, "We are primed to win league." Yes, I mean, I expect you to win the league, but we will get to that point in the podcast later on. But who have you got? So have you got a front two?
Yeah, front two, EWA Pajor and Bunny Shaw. EWA Pajor.
Bunny Shaw, crazy wild take. EWA Pajor tap in, but Bunny Shaw is wild.
Well, EWA Pajor, I think, and I'll go on to this later, I think she's the best player in the world right now. But Bunny Shaw, I think, is one of those players that, yes, didn't have the Champions League to back it up. She's the only player in this team that didn't play any Champions League. But I have to commend her for remaining and being one of the best goal scorers, one of the best traditional strikers in the world. And I think that it's a testament to how little she plays in Europe in terms of this particular season, that she's still remarked as that. And she does play in a tougher league than her peers in that striker position. I'm thinking of someone like Pernille Harder, who I wasn't able to put in this team. I just wanted to recognize Bunny Shaw because, as I did in the WSL team of the season, it's just recognizing the consistency and the body of work that has led up to just another fantastic season, arguably her best for City.
Yeah, definitely her best clinical season. It helps not having Champo. Even when she does play Champo, it's not like her record in the Champions League is terrible. It's just different, and it's a different competition, different body of work. I still don't forget the 2-0 when we beat Barca and she got the winner, and it was an unbelievable goal. So basically a solo running goal. It's a fantastic finish, but I think we are primed for her to be in the likes of the Alessia Russo ranks, the EWA Pajor ranks, the Pernille Harder is probably the one I would mention. I'd have to mention. I'm surprised you didn't put Pernille in over Bunny. I mean, the year she's had at her age and her experience and what she did for Bayern. I'm no Darian Jenkins. I don't think they were close, but they were optically pushing Barcelona in a way that was conducive to the fact that they weren't giving up. I like the not give up attitude of Pernille. They could have been 4-1 down, and she's 33 years old. I've achieved everything. It's not today, and she just kept going, kept fighting. And look, the underside of the crossbar and a few saves from Katakoi, which gets her in both of our teams, team of the seasons, is what makes such a good run from Pajor. Probably from Peniel Harder just miss out to a player like Bunny Shaw, who will be a terrifying threat for anyone she comes up against in the Champions League. Whoever Nadine Kursler pulls out of that hat when we get their UWCL draw for this season. But do you have a manager of the season?
I mean, it has to be Romeo. I think that it's pretty obvious you win the quadruple. You're going to. Did he win the quadruple?
He won the quadruple. He won the Leggy Dior. He won the Leggy Dior.
I think it's obvious, I think, to do it. And I think, against the odds from his own fans and from the media, I think a lot of people doubted Romeo, especially when they lost Aitana back in November. I think a lot of people were skeptical even at the start of the season because they lost so many players and obviously the financial situation of Barcelona, but he was able to put together not only like a team that can go out every week and perform at a level of consistency that marks him as the best team in the world, but was able to do something quite spectacular in a managerial role with the player relationships he's been able to garner, especially with the young La Masia players, as it's so important to keep those right now if Barcelona are going to stay in the financial position that they're in.
It felt like every decision he made was just brilliant. Like even the decisions we were critical of, like in the Chelsea game, we were like, oh, is Caro up to form? Is Salma up to form? And then Salma turns up late in the season. And then is Pina doing the right thing, not playing Champions League? And then she didn't have a good Champions League, but she smashed the Liga F. And it's like every decision he made that we were kind of apprehensive to basically made us fall in our feet. And like all of a sudden he's won the 3 domestic trophies. All of a sudden he's in a Champions League final and we just think to ourselves, you know what? Everything's clicking right. Caro's back to form. Vicky Lopez doesn't even play and you can argue why she didn't, but then it doesn't matter. They won 4-0, right? Like you can't really say he put many feet wrong this season, bar a Sociedad game that happened earlier in the season, which was rectified by Bayern Munich by taking her out of the league itself. How cruel! But to be fair, I mean, Imade got a goal and an assist against Barcelona. Actually, she deserved an assist for that the disallowed goal in the second leg of that the semi-final, where I cannot believe that didn't stand. Patri's got that Rodri-esque like VAR like support. It's brilliant. But I'll jump into my team. No rubbish this week. No 4 222s this week. No 3 at the backs. We're going old school FIFA XIs 4-3-3. Ladies and gentlemen and everyone in between, are you ready to go? My team is in session. We've got Kadakoi in goal, mainly for that final. I was so close to putting Stina Johannes in for the amount of games she genuinely saved VFL. The 1-0 against Lyon that they won the first leg, the game against Juve where they won 2-0. I think she has the most player of the matches of any goalkeeper in the Champions League. So Stina Johannes, and also 2 of them were when she had that broken face and she was wearing that Mbappe-esque mask, which I mean streets will never forget when a player wears a mask. I mean, it's whether it's Son, Mbappe, or Stina Johannes, mate, the holy trinity right there. But no, I'm going Kadakoi in goal. I have been coin flipping my left back the entire last week when we've been making this team. I had Esme in originally. Then we were doing our Kema highlights and I was like, wow, Salma Basha has just been an absolute animal across this season. But she was just so bad in the final. She was just so poor. Like Salma Basha is like this facilitator, distributor, like runs the game from the left side of the pitch in ways that no one else in Lyon can really do. Like they don't trust Ash Lawrence to do it. They barely trust the midfielders anymore to run the game. Now that Lindsay Heaps is gone, I actually wonder if it's all going to fall on Captain Marvel Lily Johannes. But I think it is Esme Brute's just, oh my God, I mean, she was in my Liga F team of the season as well. Like she's just an animal. I wonder what the Carla Julia of it all this season will change anything, or even if RDN, Rosalia Dominguez Nunez, yes, I'm getting the initials in early before anyone else. But yeah, RDN might shake up things in that winger slot. So maybe Carla Julia becomes an out and out left back. Who knows? But I have gone Irina Paredes, my favourite centre-half in the world, who I mean, big moments, big goals, was in my team of the season, the Liga F, and nothing was different in the Champions League. The same way Renard was in my Arkema one, Wendy Renard in the Champions League, namely that second leg of the Arsenal game. Yes, you guys did score, but that chase down tackle block at 35 years old on, I believe it was Stina. Yeah. And like Stina is someone I expect to run in on goal, hold off Renard and score like that. Like, I'm sorry, that is her game. That is her bread and butter. And Renard at 35 years of age has chopped back and like done a perfect sliding challenge to put her off. Like, that is just veterans experience. And then right back I've gone Arsenal's own Hale End Magic owner Batty. Yeah, look, Emily Fox is not a bad shout, and shout out to her getting her only goal of the season in said Champions League this season. But Ona Battier, some of the defensive efforts. I mean, her attacking goes a little bit unnoticed in the Barcelona ranks, and I think we're about to see what we've missed when she comes into the Arsenal lineup and is able to break out on that left side. And I hope she cuts in and does that early cross. I'm hoping that's the play. Even if, I don't know, if she goes to the right side of the pitch, she does some Rene inversion, which would be crazy. Imagine she plays Ona right wing just to slump Chloe Kelly even more. It's like, wow, we got a Beth Mead replacement. Her name is Ona. But yeah, the stuff she was doing specifically on the goal line, like on the opposition goal line, the way she used to play with the amount of space she had forward and would like run it across the goal line to cut it back. Like, her ability to navigate tight spaces is so underrated. I think she's so good. I mean, we gave Navarro her plaudits, but I think Ona showed big time on the big stage why she's the best right back in the world. In the midfield, I cannot believe you haven't put her in. Patri Guiharo. I mean, what is the couleurs? What is the Blau and the Grana without Patri Guiharo? I swear to God, they do not win anything in the last 5 years without her. Like, she is the reason. She should be, in my opinion, she is the captain. She should be the captain. Like, she should be. She is now going to be the captain. She was basically leading by example, but there is a Ballon d'Or shaped hole in her career which needs to be addressed at some point, and I'm hoping if Barcelona get it done this year. Yes, Aitana does have PR for the ages and will be back, and with Sarah Geordie as well, who's coming through the ranks, there's no reason why she couldn't amass the same sort of capacities to win said awards. But Patri, her body of work is nearly second to none in this sport. Not, I was going to say in the league, in the Champions League, in this sport. Like, no one, everyone is trying to emulate this girl. She is the best of the best at what she does, the Georgia Stanway role, the deep-lying playmaker, but then goes forward, can nick a goal, can score from deep, can do everything. I love Patri Guiharo. She's how I wish I could play football. It's the hardest, in my opinion, other than the goalie, it's the hardest role in the sport to just, now it has become the hardest role in terms of how assessors look at the game. I have La Reina, who, yes, we both didn't put her in our Liga F team this season. It's just because Sarah Geordie was the best. She was the best in that capacity, and she didn't play 12, 13 games, right? At some points, it was Schertenlieb, Sarah Geordie, and Vicky Lopez in the middle, and that's what they had to do to rest La Reina. But La Reina had the most GA, the most chances created, the most big chances created. I mean, you don't have to go stats with La Reina. Everyone knows she's, in my opinion, still the best player in the world. We'll see what happens at Bronley when the brass band is playing La Isla Bonita for Alexia. But yes, I've gone with England's best player in Alessia Russo in the 10. It's weird that we think of her now as a 10 because I still think her goal-scoring capacities are 9-esque. But the ability to score now, like, from deep is now the more impressive part because she is that second runner. She's kind of got that Jude Bellingham about her now where she just kind of like, give me the ball and let me run the game because I can do it. And I love that for her. Left wing is Clara motherfucking Ball. Right wing is Melky Dumonet. And striker is, as my favorite commentator would say, Pajor. Yeah, the three easiest, arguably you could easily say those are the three best players in the world this season. Clara Bull, the master facilitator for Germany and for Bayern Munich, behind basically everything good that happened this season. There is no Pernilla Harder renaissance of her career without Clara Bull this season. There is no Linda Dahlman renaissance. There is no Stanway magic without the facilitation of Clara Bull on that left side when she was fit this season. De Mornay is everything good about Lyon. The reason they made it to well, I was gonna say Oslo. Is it? It wasn't Oslo.
Yeah, it was
Oslo.
Oslo.
It was in Oslo. Yeah, I was about to say Lisbon. Sorry, and then I was like, that was last year.
Wish.
They did not make it. They did not make it to
No.
Lisbon. They did not make it to Lisbon. That was Kim Little's fault. She said no tickets to Lisbon, but De Mornay is the reason they ended up in Oslo because I mean that ball and a half, just that entire run, the things she did against your lot in all 3 games against you actually, including the group stage 1, especially the group stage 1, and then I mean United, VFL, they all fell victim to the Haitian masterclass that is De Mornay. And Ewa Pajor, I mean, you will sing praises about her Polish power, the Ewandowski, the In-EWA-table, like there is everything, every superlative you say. She's a perfect striker. Like, yes, Bunny Shaw is bigger and stronger, but it doesn't mean she's better. And in fact, she's not better. Bunny Shaw is my favourite striker in the world. I'm a citizen through and through. Ewa Pajor is a genuine freak of football. She is allergic to goals. It is scary the amount of goals she scored in 2 seasons. She's broken the record for back-to-back seasons post-2020. If she scores 30 goals next year, she'll break the back-to-back-to-back record, and 30 goals is about stock standard for Pajor. I think if she scored 30, we'd be like, kind of an average season for Pajor, but we know she can get 40. We know she can get mid-40s, and that's what she'll be aiming for now that Alexia is not stealing goals from her. And manager, I've gone. It's hard to look past Romeu. Shout out to Bakala, obviously. I think Renee does have to be credited for like facilitating a Champions League run that is incredibly admirable. Obviously, trying to go back to back is unless you're Barcelona is nearly virtually impossible. And she did facilitate a good run. And I think Bakala is the one where you think to yourself, they were the underside of the bar away from putting real pressure on them. But Romeu, he just got everything right this season. What a freak. But speaking of getting everything right in our respective teams, I mean, we didn't really have that much different. I feel like we did that thing again where we just shift our formations. It's really Patry versus Manu, which is a really fun debate, and then a bunch of defenders versus Bunny Shaw, who didn't play Champions League. But I understand why you've put her in. We're going to go straight into, I mean, is it player of the, it's player of the tournament kind of, but player of Europe. Yeah, player of Europe kind of.
I think player of Europe is player of the year season.
Yeah, player of the year, basically the way the Ballon d'Or works, bar in World Cup years. Next year will be an interesting precedent, but who have you got for your player of the year? Yeah. That one is for all the video YouTube listeners, the video watchers, all the audio visual spectaculars there. If you wanted to see what I did for Leggy to laugh at my Rapino moment, but who have you got as your player of the year?
Ewa Pajor is my player of the year, and I think it's about time that we start recognizing Ewa Pajor as the best player in the world, because Alexia Putellas and Aitana Bonmati and Clara Bull and these incredible footballers are amazing and not taking away from any of their achievements this year. But when we look at consistency, when we look at elite world-class football from a position that is incredibly hard to play, that she's been doing now upwards of 10 years, the amount of influence she has in a Barcelona team whose system is not traditionally catered for her, who she was basically a major tournament less. She hadn't won a Champions League. She comes in this
She did
season.
the Harry Kane. She was full Harry Kane. Lost. What is it? 1 in 6. This was her first Champions League in 6 Champions League finals, 5 Champions League finals. Crazy numbers. And she to lose, to be a part of that many losing teams as well.
And look, we can talk about how last season she was equally as brilliant just without the Champions League to top it off. But this season, with the Champions League, with the quadruple, with the numbers, with the influence, she is the best player in the world. I think that the other players that can be mentioned do not do the level and do not, and whose qualities are not always attributed to the raw talent that Ewa Pajor has. She could go into any team and make it better. And I think she is so important for Barcelona in a way that we necessarily didn't even think she would be, but she has been, and thus is the best player in the world. I don't necessarily think she'll win the Ballon d'Or, unfortunately, but I do think if we're looking at everything, including stats, including influence, she's the best player in the world.
So, I mean, I guess my question to you is, like, obviously I've made it very clear that I think her first season at Barcelona was better. I think she was a demon last year. I think she should have won the Ballon d'Or last year for what she did. My question to you is, do you think there's parts of her game that have gotten better this season? And if so, what attributes, what qualities?
I think if we're looking at build-up, I think if we're looking at positioning on the pitch, I think if we're looking at how she's been able to adapt to a changing midfield, a midfield that was very much influenced by Aitana Bonmati, and then with the influence of Patri moving a bit forward up, Alexia is changing as a footballer every season, so you have to change with her. The fact that there have been a mix of wingers, she's been able to work well with CGH, with Vicky, with Salma, whoever else is on the left-hand side. She's also been able to work well in the league with Pina, with Kika Nazareth. Like, there have been incredible combination plays with every single player, and in my opinion, there is only so many players in the world who can adapt their game so much so that doesn't impact the rest of the game. She's a very humble striker. She is a contributor to build up. She also passes the ball off as well to make chances for other players. But with the stature that Ewa Pajor has, going off the back of an incredible season last year, you would assume that that type of player would have a bit of grandiose about them, a bit of ego. But she's she has contributed to this ego death that's happening at Barcelona, where you completely take away the player and you just look at the institution, you look at the team, and that is what drives you. And I think that Ewa Pajor, for someone who's not La Masia, who's completely detached from Barcelona, to do that and to be so impactful this season, I just think this season, with of course the Champions League on top, is maybe even a better season than the last one.
I think it also comes from being from a nation that doesn't necessarily win everything. And when you're the best player, she is like far and away the best player in her nation, but doesn't go about it like a player who is, right? Like, she's there to facilitate this. She holds her head up. It's that, like, how do you she has every right to have an ego as big as a player of that stature, a Lauren James, Chloe Kelly, a Salma. Like, I mean, those players, I'm when I say ego, I'm not saying it as an insulting thing. I think footballers need ego in order to some footballers need ego in order to facilitate their confidence games. Like Chloe Kelly in that run last year, Eula Brand at the end of this year, that is ego ball. That's not a bad thing. This is what you use. You use that confidence to lift you up, to go on runs that you didn't think were capable. The Claudia Pina of last year was ego ball. That was insane. And then this run is a body of work now, but there is less of an ego when you're doing it week in, week out in the league and not smacking everyone in the Champions League. It's a different, like, kettle of fish, right? You're playing a different role. Pajor, I mean, I kind of love the way you explained that. Like, I feel like her level didn't change regardless of who she played with. It's like, okay, so Carla Julia's to my left and Vicky Lopez is to my right this game, and we're playing Alhamar, so bang, 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 let's go. And then we'll come up the next game against Bayern Munich, and I'll have Caro to my right and I'll have Salma to my left, and I'll still score the opener. And that's what I love. I love that Pajor is not the fourth or fifth goal. She's the first goal. She's always the first goal. It's inevitable Pajor. We've done our due diligence across the season with our TikToks and everything, short form content around Pajor. Again, inevitability and intuition. I think the biggest part of her game that's changed is the intuition element. I think she, especially when you score 43 goals, I think there's a capacity for you to go, I expect the ball. I expect the ball to come to me at my feet and I can create and facilitate. And I think her assists are not terrible. She can facilitate that way, but obviously her patience. When you become a good facilitator, you're more patient in front of goal. It's the way, like, you watch a traditional nine, like like a Russo who's become incredibly more patient by moving deeper. She plays up front. Sometimes she just doesn't get the ball for 15, 20 minutes, and then bang, bang, she's got 2 goals in 8 minutes, and you're like,
She
oh,
reminds me
wow.
of like Kelly Smith.
Yeah.
Like if you're watching
Kelly,
Prime Arsenal,
old school Arsenal ball, old school US women's national team. The headers she scores, some of the like running drilled crosses from Ona, Esme,
which is so much
Caro,
more three-dimensional, and that's where the modern game comes in.
That header she scored on Vanessa Gilles in the second leg of that Bayern game, like. Vanessa Gilles is arguably the best aerial like jeweler in the world. I would argue top 5 at least. And Pajor made her look amateur. And the positioning, the intuition, that header is something out of the playbook of an Abby Wambach. Like that's how they used to win World Cups. Like Ewa Pajor, you put her in a German top, and Germany instantly become a top 3 contender. I think Germany win the World Cup regardless of Pajor or no Pajor. But I think there is an 100% shout for Pajor to be. I mean, what did she finish in the Ballon d'Or last year? Was it 4th or 5th?
It was top 5. It was definitely.
I really hope it was top 5 with 43 goals. If she isn't, then it's a bit of a disgracia.
I think Patry was the one because she finished like 8th or something. Everyone. Was
that was the one that was a bit wild. I think Chloe Kelly was 5th. That's why I think which is, I mean, its own conversational podcast. But I mean, I'm a little bit more boring. I think this is. I mean, I say it's boring. It is a return. It is a return to the top. It is a La Masia handoff. It is Aitana has done 3 in a row. The gods, the leg said no, and now she's going to hand it off to her best friend in football, La Reina. Yes, my GOAT. Yes, the ACL is healed, and she will take the Ballon d'Or with grace from Aitana, who probably would have won it again if she was fit. Let's be real. Aitana was still She reminded that she started off the season with literally a Puskas nominee goal in that. Like she was not fucking around. But Alexia's Champions League run this year was next to no one, in my opinion. I think Pajor was spectacular, but who's facilitating those chances? Who's providing the space for Pajor to get those nasty chip-in, tap-in strikes? It's Alexia doing all the dirty work. It's her running through the channels, doing those flicks and chops, and doing it with 2 players on her minimum. And God, like there were even the goals she scored in every time she plays at the Camp Nou. It's like it's like the president. It's like Messi has turned back. He's back at Camp Nou. That's what it is. It's the way they shout for her, they chant for her. There will never be another Alexia, and this post Barcelona Alexia era is going to be like Messi at PSG. It's going to be like Messi at Miami, where he is a good player, but it will never be the same. The Barcelona will never be the same. They might be the institution that wins everything, but nothing was the same when she leaves. There is something like legacy of La Reina about it that all the players around her, the APA, that now it's APC, those 3 won't play to the same level. They'll play to a great level, but it's going to be different. And if this is Ballon number 3, this will probably be the 3rd and final, in my opinion. I don't know how easy it'll be to win a Ballon d'Or in Bromley, let alone, I mean, you'd have to win the league. You would have to win the league and play Champions League football again for her to win a Ballon d'Or again. I just don't see that happening, in my opinion. I don't see them making Champions League despite how many players they sign, despite how many world-class footballers I deem they have. It's not going to happen. But La Reina, this was kind of like the encore. This was like finally, like the Euros was amazing, and off the back of the Euros, she's come back and she's playing to that same level and continued her run of form.
The only reason I didn't necessarily put her in as my best player and haven't done for a while is mostly because I do think that she struggles in finals, and I do think she struggles in big games. This season, I think she's been better. I think that semi-final was arguably her best game. Alongside
quarterfinal too.
Yeah, I was going to say alongside some other Champions League games. I think it's a bit of a curse that I have. I watched Alexia for years before the 23 World Cup and then the eventual,
of course,
kind of resurgence of this player. And it's
pink kit Alexia, right? Like
and it's hard. It's hard to watch somebody whose injury has so much not negatively impacted, but has impacted her game. And it's interesting to see the evolution. And I think when we look back on her career, I think I will look more favorably upon the post-23 Alexia, because there will be a kind of maturation that we see in hindsight that we're not necessarily seeing now. But then you have those goals and you have those moments that just remind us that the Alexia of past, despite the injury, is still there. It's still the same Alexia, and she's still so much of Barcelona, the real identity of this team and how it's been developing into this just absolute like hegemon in women's football is because of Alexia Papai. She is one of, if not the face of European football.
100%. And you would argue that her most iconic moment in her career at Barcelona is post ACL,
exactly.
right? Like the goal in the final is iconic. The moment in that semi-final where she scores at the Camp Nou, which was you knew was her last time at the Camp Nou, is goes down in folklore, goes down in history. I think what the representation of Barcelona, she is Miss Barcelona. That's what she is and what she always will be. Until this, I mean, as she said before, the generations that come beyond her will eclipse, and we will see that. And I am more than excited to bear witness to what she knows. Like, I just think great minds know what happens the same way that, like when Pep says something, or when Marta says something, or when even Maradona, as much as he was screw loose, has said many things. He said that the World Cup in America in the future will have 4 quarters. Like, these people just know football better than us, and I just believe that Alexia, I don't know if it's coaching in her future. I don't see it as coaching. I see her more as like a personality or an assister to like the growth of the game, rather than like a genuine one club role. But I will always listen to what she has to say about the future of the game that matters most to us. But we will jump into goal of the season. It doesn't really have to be conducive. Are we making this Champions League conducive? Or are we going like the entire goal of the season?
I guess I just think that this goal, take away the Champions League of it all, is the best goal of the season. My goal. I don't know about you. I guess you chose.
I've gone more Champions League route, but I'll give you both. I'll definitely give you both. Okay. I'll think about it. But you go first. You go first if you're ready to go.
My goal of the season is probably going to win the Puskas, and has probably been nominated, I believe, as the best goal of the Champions League this season. And it was Julia Bartel's versus Twente, the half-volley rocket.
Oh yes, I do remember that. That was what's it called? That was like late on in the Champo. That was like
the Champions
round
League.
4. Okay, yeah. It was I guess I don't know. That was the one that went top left corner, right? Yeah. Ripper strike. Yeah. I mean, the technical brilliance on that strike is pretty brilliant.
The thing about it is, I think we forget that the goalkeeper did a really good job to absolutely
make it look fantastic.
No, like, yes. The corner came in from the left-hand side. She does fist it away.
She does put,
35 to 40 yards. And like, I always think, how many bounces until it's not a half volley and it's just a strike. But
it's one.
No, I think it took a couple of bounces. It took a couple of bounces.
No. But the answer to that question is one.
Yeah,
Ian,
true.
right?
Yeah,
I'm calling out the rest as football there that all say Alan Shearer's one's a volley. I'm like, it's a half volley. It's always a half volley unless it comes down with snow on it. But yeah, it's definitely up there. Holy moly. Yeah, is there any other ones that you have like honorable mentions or nothing you can think of? I
actually had Dumourne's, but I know that you're going to your top 5 I had.
Yeah, so the UWCL, I've gone for a top 5 in the UWCL. So Ellie Carpenter's goal versus Barcelona, more just a Tilly nom, kind of like an honorable mention.
I think if we have to mention,
let's be real. It is a very Ellie Carpenter goal. Yeah. Like if AI were to generate an Ellie Carpenter goal, that's what it would look like. Her running full pace, her shooting near post. Yes, it was beating Katakoi. Yes, it was 1-0 Chelsea. I was very shocked. Like, look, it's not a goal I expect her to score. That's what was so and the occasion of it, like, to score that goal is fantastic, and it definitely deserved a nom. This goal, I'm still go back and forth on if she meant it, and which I think she did because she does look over, but it is the 6th goal in a 6-0 win for Lucy Bronze. Her chip against Roma, it is, that's the class of a footballer who's just been around too long and just knows what to do. It's a ridiculous goal. I mean, 2 right backs for Chelsea, 2 ridiculous goals. Melky versus United, I still contend. I think that is better than the Arkema final one. Like, it is better than that. Just the power on it, the top bins of it.
She
like,
stops
no
as well.
goalie.
Like, she fully stops.
Oh yeah, and yeah. There's nothing that PTJ could do, and that was also prime Talis Joyce. Like that was her best. Number 2 was Caicedo's consolation goal in the 6-2 loss. Oh my god, she made the Barcelona defense. This okay, but the strike, regardless of the defending, the strike is immense. She's taken on 2 or 3 world class defenders, generational defenders in Battier, Irina Paredes, and Patri's on her back, and then beats Katakoi from 25 yards. I mean, this is why everyone wants Linda Caicedo. It's one of the solo goals for the ages. And then I've basically tied at number 1 in the Champo at least, Puteas and LJ's goal. Both of them basically the same goal. In my opinion, they're identical. The only difference is LJ's is about 5 yards back, and Alexia's one is more top corner and has a bit more spin on it. And I mean, one is against Annika Borba and one is against Enema Mutovic, right? So I was going to discuss it with you, which one you thought was better, Alexia's one or LJ's one. And I think, I mean, obviously it's hard to talk to an Arsenal fan about that goal, but what do you think?
I think for the fact that the build-up, Clara Bull actually assists Alexia.
Clara Bull is the greatest facilitator of all time, which is unreal.
But LJ's, I think I have to give it to her. The crowded box of it all, the fact that it came basically 1 or 2 touches after.
I just didn't think it was going in. It looks like it's not going in. Whereas Alexia, as soon as she shot, you're like, all right, 1-0, game over. Like, this game's finished. But LJ's one was like, oh, wait, how did that go in? And then you just realize it is like it's in the roof of the net. It is it's not top corner, but it's like top of the net on the side. And DVD, Borba had no chance. The question is that it's not as fast. Like, Alexia's one is like curving and sliding, and it's a little bit more fast. Whereas LJ's one is dipping, and I do think Borba, but you just knew it was going in. I think there is something about LJ's goal that is a bit more ridiculous, and then the of it all is fantastic too. I think Bartel's goal is immense, but if we're going like the entire season, like I think, I mean, I even forgot Ewa Pajor's bicycle kick in that same game with the Alexia goal. That bicycle kick is crazy, but I still think, like, if we're going back to those respective leagues, the top 5 goals we had in our leagues, whether it's Papai's goal, De Mornay's goal, Papai will live forever in Benchwarmers folklore, in my opinion. I think Emoke Papai for me will be number 1, or you'd go. Like we could go to the WSL and we could decide there. But I think like obviously they're more moments goals than they are like technical brilliance, whereas Papai's, the La Croqueta, is still rent-free in my brain. But I would say that's probably a good rundown of the I'm going to give it to LJ. I'm going to go goal of the season in the UCL, and then we can go as a collective Emoke Papai goal of the year. Goal of the 25-26 season is Papai ball. But we're going to move into the best game. Leggy, kick us off. Do you have any honourable mentions, or you just go straight to the banger?
My honourable mention is your pick, so I'll leave you to that. But
Slay.
Because I had it there for a while as well, and then I changed it because I couldn't bear myself to talk about it. But
that's so fair.
Yeah, I've gone with the Juve Lyon game. It was the most I was captivated by a game from minute 1 to 90.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
3-3.
Oh my god, the 3-3. Oh my god, 3-0, 3-0 Juve. What happened? Why? This is why I got sacked.
Yeah, true. But I think if we're talking about like the battle of two halves, I mean, one is just like a complete demolition job of one of the great teams, institutions by Juventus, who at this point, yes, were in contention for that kind of top 8 of the Champions League, but were in no way going to, replicate, or what we thought, replicate the level of someone like Lyon. And then the second half just proved why Lyon, A, are Lyon, and B, why they had such a stellar campaign in the Champions League is because they're able to claw back results. And I think that, kicking it off like with the incredible, like the Bakari of it all in the first half, and then ending it with Renard. I mean, there's no real way to end a game if it's not with Renard. And it's funny because obviously I'm always rooting for the underdog, but it's hard because you're so captivated by Lyon and what they were able to do in that second half. It was just such an interesting game.
I also think like that was the first game where I think Katoto kind of justified her existence at Lyon. I feel like she hadn't really stamped her authority in the team of why she was there, and Ada was still starting, and she wasn't. She'd only scored like what 2 goals in the league in the Arkema. Like guys, Rome looked as top goal scorer. You're telling me Katoto was a top goal scorer in this league. You're telling me she's got 2 goals in the Lyon setup. These are just preposterous numbers. Like if there's any player that needs to improve in that Lyon side, it's Katoto. They put the big wages and money on her, but this game, like she got them back into this when Hegerberg came off. It was all her. She was facilitating deep, she was facilitating back, she helped facilitate the penalty in the end to get Renard the equalizer. But yeah, obviously a generational performance from that Juve side. Obviously Harviken I mean, now a Villa player started the game very well with Salvi. Salvi was insane in that game, but yeah, Bakari was kind of the breakout game for Bakari in a way. I think that like to get player of the match in a game against European giants like that is all you really need to consider, to be honest. And look, it looks like she's it looks like she's a player who's obviously done her rounds. She's been on loan multiple times, but now she's at Juventus and she's definitely there to stay and be a mainstay in that setup. So yeah, it was an amazing game. I remember watching that. I remember seeing them 3-0 up and I was like, oh my God, I need to be awake right now. It was like 5:30 in the morning on a Thursday, and I'm like, oh, all right, I don't have work or anything. I might as well lock in and watch a generational Lyon loss. And yeah, that didn't happen, sadly. But yeah, they took off Tarsian, they took off Johannes, and everything changed. Really, they put on Spurs legend Alisson. We'll get to that very, very soon. But I will mention my games. I was look, there was some good fun games. I was going to mention VFL United, the 5-2, because I love watching United get packed in. I could have gone the Darian Jenkins route and talk about Bayern going toe-to-toe in the 5-3 loss on aggregate and 12-4 in total for the season. But nah, it was the Bayern remontada, the Aufholen, as Bartel said at the end of the game. 2-0 down. Arsenal versus Bayern at Allianz Arena. Yeah, we just talking about game of two halves. I mean, this was Emily Fox going God mode in that for the goal, her headed goal. And then Stina hits the bar. Barkala, every photo of Barkala in that half is just genuine depression. And then Mario's goal. Oh my God. I mean, that was probably her best moment of the season, to be honest. I know she was amazing in the league, like from like a midfielder's like metronomic standpoint, but like obviously the thing that got her second in the Ballon d'Or last year was her ability to score, and she's halved her numbers from midfield. I think it's kind of weird, like how the number drop off has happened. Obviously I don't expect her to replicate the brilliance of that 24-25 season, but that goal was remnants of that season. And they're 2-0 up, and then look, and then Pernille Harder comes on. And a lot of things changed in that last 30 minutes. Alara Settler, who doesn't really get many nods or any conduits of a shout for like quality at Bayern. I feel like she's a name that gets left off the list. That was a very cheeky finish for that first goal, and then Harder came on, and then that left foot. I mean, that's even a goal of the season contender in a way, that left foot strike, where I mean DVD didn't even move. Was it DVD in goal? It was DVD in goal. Didn't move. And then Balislaga, see the Vigos Dottir, the magisterial genius that is Stina Balislaga Pedersen. The second half performance. Her second half performance defensively was spectacular, the most defensive contributions. And then Vigos Dottir gets that tap in from the third and final Clara Bull assist, the second half, with so much drama. And then you guys went the other end after they scored. I mean, it took them to score 3 goals for you to wake up. But, I mean, there was just so much in that game, and I think that game encapsulates why you weren't defending champions, but also why Bayern weren't able to go toe-to-toe with the best. I think that game reveals a lot about both contenders, I guess. That's why I think it was such a good game. And then also just like, I mean, watching peak Clara Bull, I mean, it was insane. And obviously Pernille Harder with one for the Chelsea books, right? Like, I mean, she really just does hate Arsenal more than nearly anyone I know. I think if we made a list of top 5 players who hate Arsenal the most, I think it's Sam Kerr, Bunny Shaw, and Pernille Harder. Like, and maybe Iman Bene at this rate. But yeah, they are our best games of the UWCL, probably our best games of the season. They would be up there. I mean, obviously, does it really beat a 5-all? Does it really beat City Arsenal 3-2? I mean, are all our favourite games just Arsenal losing or Atletico
That's why
bottling?
I didn't want to pick that, because I had already done an Arsenal loss.
Mate, the vindication of Arsenal losing games and it being the best game of the season is very accurate. But we will swiftly drift across, not like kind of laterally, to our end of season Benchwarmers awards. We haven't really done this. For anyone who hasn't been around for this and has just been around for our end of season awards, we do a Benchwarmers awards every week. Not every week, every week. We do it about Never Bench Again. We do Super Sub of the Week, and we do Come on the Pod, usually to mention a player who was benched and now isn't being benched and needs to not be benched ever. And then we have a Super Sub who is chronically on the bench and is doing magic off the bench. And then Come on the Pod is someone who should be benched next to us, sitting, talking with us and getting asked or interrogated for questions about what they've done or who they are or what they will be. But I will let Leggy kick us off. Leggy, what is your 25-26 Never Bench Again?
Yeah, it's definitely Clara Jordi for me. I think that Champions League final encapsulate what is definitely a very promising and evolved midfielder, but somebody who is going to come into the team next year and be basically having to take over from somebody who we recognize as one of, if not the best players in the world. I think to take over from Aitana this year from November and have to fill into a role that changed, really. She stepped into a more defensive a defensive midfielder, allowing Patri to move forward a little bit, is different from the Aitana role, and thus she wasn't necessarily mimicking or trying to fill the shoes of Aitana. It's an impossible thing to do, but she was able to make that position her own, and I think the amount of games that she played, the ability to hold herself to a level of consistency that we didn't necessarily put on her. This is not a standard that you'd put on an 18-year-old as it coming into Barcelona from La Masia, but she was able to hold herself and thus the team to an incredible standard that enabled them to get those 4 trophies this year. She was incredibly influential in that midfield, but also just in that team. And I think that when we look at the loss of Alexia and the reintroduction of Aitana, there's just no other choice but to start Seda Jordi. And I don't love the whole prodigal daughter framing, because there's this, kind of pressure that we put on her, but there is kind of an inevitability to her presence now, and if she is going to be the future of La Masia and really the future star of Barcelona, it wouldn't surprise me if next season and a complete 40-game season from her where she starts in central midfield is the start of what could be just such a fruitful career for her.
I mean, I don't call her the prodigal child. I call her the traveling companion. She's the Clara the Time Lord. She is, Clara Oswald Sarah Jordi for me. She is seriously like the person they didn't know that they needed, and then she comes out of nowhere and saves the day, and she's just just the final performance, the things she was doing in the middle of midfield, like it was in my head for that Lyon Barcelona game, as much as it was we've spoken about this, the end of the era for the Heapses, and yes, Renard will go another year, and yes, Irina will too, but for Muppy and Alexia, there's so many storylines ended in that game in Oslo, but the storyline begins for Clara Serra-Jordi and Lily Johannes. And let's be honest, it's Clara Serra-Jordi 1 and Lily Johannes 0. Like that's that game on another day when Lindsay Heaps' goal is not offside and they win 1-0 or 2-0 and Lily Johannes bosses the midfield and beats APC, and you start talking about this US midfielder like she's the prodigal child of the US women's national team and she's going to run the heart of that midfield for years. And it didn't work out then. Who knows? It could be next year. We don't know. That's the thing about these two teams, is that they do get ample opportunity to reveal to the world who the next in line is. But Clara Serra-Jordi took her chance this year with a broken leg of the best player in the world and said, what's the problem, guys? I'm here. I'm here to play football. And she is... I think the scary part is she's got more to prove. Like, this is the rawest Serra-Jordi we will see. She can only get better, barring a ton of leg injury as well. Like, you don't, never want to see any masterful footballers get injured. But, this is, again, you talk to Tottenham fans who spent ridiculous amounts of money on players like Soldado in their previous history, and Soldado was crap, and then he got injured, and then that's the reason Harry Kane comes through. Yeah. So Bonmati going down was horrendously sad and depressing for Barcelona fans. But look at the omelette that came out of the egg that cracked, or the leg, should I say, that cracked. But my never bench again is a kind of duo element now that Stanway is gone. I used to say, is it Tanikawa or is it Ariana Caruso? The answer is that they both have to play now. They both have to play. I think Caruso a little bit deeper and Momoko in the 10, or you go the other way and you go Caruso, who's got that really powerful strike. But both of them have just been fantastic. There is an honorable mention to there were a few options that that could have been had, but I was thinking Hayley Buhega at Inter Milan now that Tessa Valhert has left. She is a never bench again, and she's going to have to lead the line for Inter Milan, which is an interesting precedent all in itself. But Tanikawa and Caruso are two footballers who were playing in Champions League semi-finals, making Barcelona look subpar in the last 20 minutes of that game. So they are two players that deserve respect. And Caruso started this season on the bench, and Tanikawa kind of flattened off at the end of the year and then vindicated herself later on, but started the season really well. So both of them, there's no humming and hurring about this anymore. They both have to start. Stanway is gone and they need to fill that void, and it's the two of them.
I think that it's pretty telling that with the loss of Georgia Stanway, Bayern haven't been reactionary with the midfield signing. I think
they haven't signed anyone.
I think they really trust that midfield, and I think there obviously is, similar to Barcelona, there is that ability to experiment and go young in really key positions, because you have the accessibility to do so. You're not playing top 10 teams every week. You're playing the likes of the likes of other Frauen Bundesliga teams, basically. But I think Tanikawa and Caruso, I think that the thing about those two is I don't think it's necessarily the biggest drop-off that you can have coming from a player who's arguably top 5 in her position in the league. And I think it would be really interesting to see how they mix together in the Champions League, because I think both of them had really bright moments. I think Tanikawa was probably better in the league. I think Caruso was really great in the Champions League. I want to see how that balances out. I think it'd be really interesting.
Sure. Maybe they're both just mainstays and dominate German football for them, but they'll have some good competition across the grounds. But we will go into our super sub of the year. Leggy, kick us off.
Yeah, my super sub is Nerea Ezagüero. I think that if we talk about numbers and if we talk about the starting matches to super sub performances, 23 matches played and only 9 starts with 8 goals and 4 assists to your name. Big games, big goals, big goal contributions. I don't think that there's anyone else in the world who has such an impact off the bench, arguably, maybe if I'm going to go for an honorable mention, it's Chawinga for Lyon. But
Tabitha. Okay,
yeah,
interesting.
because just given the fact that she's come on and she's done so much, but if we're talking about pure numbers and having played 23 matches, I think there are only 24 matches in the league. She plays in them, but she only started 9, and she's had very big moments, as I said earlier. And I think it's a testament to what Real Sociedad have been able to do this season, which is trust in their starting 11, but have the depth to really build a campaign that is, in my opinion, generational.
I have to ask you, I know we promised not to talk much about kits, but have you seen the Sociedad away kit that's coming 26-27? They've gone full black.
Yeah.
They've gone full black. I
kit.
think Ezeguirre must come. I think the generational GOAT that is Nerea Ezeguirre. I mean, I'm just shouting it out. If Ezeguirre, Papai, anyone, any of the Benchwarmers goats, El Sharif, if they're listening, yeah, we want them all. We want all the kits. We will put them in the back just to represent. Even if we're not talking about you, we will put them in the back because we love you and we love Sociedad. Shout out Arturo Ruiz for continuously benching Ezeguirre for my own vindication and benefit. But yes, I kind of agree with you. I think it is Ezeguirre. It's hard to argue against a player who was just seriously like, just every time she came off the bench. There's only 3 players I can think of. I didn't even consider Chawinga because she did start quite a few games. Yes, she was off the field for a lot of it. But, I mean, let's be real. I mean, other than Iman Bene, who had her moments off the bench, like not necessarily a serial bench warmer, but was benched a lot of this season and then had impacts in games like the Brighton game, the game against Arsenal, the game against Chelsea. Big moments off the bench, not necessarily a season super sub of the season. But I was going to say for half a season, you could go Smilla Holmberg, and her impact off the bench was crazy, yeah. And then the other one I would mention, who's doing it right now, is Trinity Byers. Trinity Byers.
She's not a super sub anymore, Ben.
But the stuff she's doing.
Yeah, I know exactly.
She's got 6 goals off the bench. She's got just as many goals as Ezeguirre in half the games, not even less than half the games. Like, she is a scary precedent. But it is Ezeguirre for what we've spoken about. I think I looked through a few of our historical super sub of the weeks, and other than Chawinga here and there, other than players in like Selena Vobian has a generational super sub performance. You have Caro, like a few games where Caro was on the bench because they were rotating Barca squads, was crazy, right? Some really, really good moments, but I think it just has to be Nerea, who is my favorite Sociedad player. But we are going to move into Come on the Pod. Allegra, kick things off for the best award in the game.
Yeah, I think I should mention that I'm going to get into a bit of depth about like statistics, not even just statistics, just like specifics. So if you don't want to hear that, skip to the most important part, which is basically the end. But I wanted to say that my come on the pod is the Matildas not playing enough international games.
What a shock.
Opposition.
What a shock.
Yeah, I'm going to take my one moment to talk about the Matildas in a podcast that we haven't talked about the Matildas in a long time, and I think
that's true. It's been about a month since a rent-free Tilly leggy rant.
Yeah, and I think we haven't talked about national teams as well. And as you know, when we talk about come on the pod, it's not always negative, but this isn't more negative. This is more constructive.
So who do you actually want from the Matildas? Who do you want on the pod?
The Football Federation.
So you want the FA. So you want Sarah Walsh. You want Sarah Walsh on the pod.
Sarah Walsh. Whoever organises international fixtures, I would like on the pod.
Okay, fair enough.
To preface, I recognise FIFA rankings are outdated and particularly discriminatory, but if you just watch the games and these teams the Matildas are facing, in this case, it actually does line up with my argument. So outside of the Asian Cup, the Tillies had the opportunity to play in 6 international windows and played genuinely challenging international sides. Instead, the Tillies played teams that are objectively seen as easier and less competitive, all of which contribute to the false narrative that deludes the side into thinking they can face world-class opposition in tournaments without the practice environment that the friendlies facilitate. So here are the stats. The Matildas played South Korea, Argentina, Slovenia, Panama, Wales,
Malawi,
England, New Zealand, Malawi, Kenya, and Mexico. With the exception of England, who are 4th, and South Korea, who are 18th, the Matildas have only played sides that sit 28th or lower, with Malawi being the lowest ranked side in 153rd. That means the Matildas...
Oh, also, Chowingalus Malawi. That's important to mention as well.
That's a great point. Yeah. That means the average of all 10 teams we played in the international window, bar the Asia Cup, is 52nd in the FIFA ranking. So, to contrast with fellow Asian Cup finalists, which I think is important, Japan, and easily our greatest competition in the region, in the last 12 months, Japan have played world champion Spain, Copa America winner Brazil, Copa America runners-up Colombia, Euro semi-finalists Italy, world number 2 and Olympic gold medalist USA, as well as top sides like Norway and Canada. They recently played South Africa, and in the lead up to the Asia Cup, played in the East Asian Championship, an appointed fixture against Chinese Taipei, South Korea, and China. The lowest
we were
ranked...
at that game. We were at that Chinese Taipei game.
Yeah, we were at that Chinese. The lowest ranked side they faced was South Africa, who sit 57th. The majority of the other sides, by average, sit 18th, and 4 of the teams they played sit in the top 10 alongside Japan, who sit 5th. The real question from this is, why is the Australian Federation not prioritising hard fixtures? Why are the Matildas, a team expected to compete for major tournaments, being prepared through a schedule that does not consistently replicate the level of opposition they will eventually face? We recognise that European teams, in most windows, cannot play against the Matildas. But why are we not attracting a USA, a Brazil, a Canada, a Nigeria, even our Asian compatriots, Japan, in another continental showdown? We have in the past faced these teams in friendlies away from tournament established matchups. So why is this team, this federation, too scared, too cowardly to compete now? In a time of great pressure for this side to compete with the best nations in the world, these opportunities should not be becoming less frequent. We should be playing these teams. In the past 12 months, we have been nothing short of a shambles, and I believe that is to do with the fact that we have not been playing the best international opposition in the FIFA allocated timeframes in these friendlies, and I have nothing else to say. I think that's all that needs to be said.
Oh captain, my captain. Yeah. I mean, I echo most of what you say. Like, we did this discussion really early on the pod, and we had a little bit of a back and forth, a few nibbles at the fact that, like, there is, I mean, you mentioned the discriminatory nature of FIFA rankings. There is a discriminatory nature of ease of access for said friendlies. Yeah. And look, let's forget the fact that we love football. You don't like the Matildas, but the Matildas play a big role in, like, your life as a football fan, like, regardless of your love or hatred for them, and the history of the Matildas matters to you, Allegra, and that's important. And even when we watched the final this year, and there were moments to be to look back on with genuine, like, lack of ambition, and I think that there was glimpses of hope, and there were glimpses of moments where you looked to the South Korea game, not necessarily the first one, but the second one, and you look to the North Korea game and you think to yourself, okay, there is genuine ambition to beat teams that are better than us, and even teams that go out and do more than us on the pitch and play to a way that I would like us to play it. That's not how we're ever going to play. It's just not in our culture or our nature to be that. And that's where I think our realism comes in. We don't want Australia to be Spain. We don't want to come out playing like it's never going to come out Montemuro's Lyon. Like, we're never going to come out like that. It's going to be Ozball. And as I've said many times, I've said it. It's one of my iconic quotes. It's ugly, gutsy, and ugly, right? Like, it's passionate, and it's unbelievable, and it makes me feel things that sometimes Manchester City doesn't, right? Because, I mean, again, I love City and I love watching Mary, but I don't currently live in Manchester. I'm not from Manchester, but when the Tillies are playing, it's an extension of my culture and what I deem to be the best of the football I watched growing up. And I think there is something to say when Emma Hayes is basically handpicking opponents and picking the good ones, right? Like, she's playing Portugal, who are beating them. She's playing Brazil in Brazil. She's playing, like, big moments, and games in history.
And people will say, like, that's because the Federation of and they have the cultural capital. Like the Federation
Of course.
and the US Women's National Team have the cultural capital. But we have a World Cup in 12 months, and we are ill prepared for it in a way that
we
I
are
don't
not
think any
prepared
other
in
team-
any way.
I think that we're the worst prepared team in the world, coming off the back of getting fourth in a World Cup and having
We
the
beat
Federation trust
we
us.
beat Denmark when Mary Fowler played the ball across and 40 scored, and then we ended up 2-0. We won that game, and now I think if we came up against Denmark, we'd get smoked because Mikkelsen's Denmark are double the capacities of what they were. Cecilia Fleur with the addition, but they're also unbeaten in their qualifying run. We lost to Mexico. Mexico, I'm not saying are scrubs by any extension of the imagination. They went 36 games unbeaten until we beat them, right? Like it was one all for like games won. But yes, we won on an aggregate basis. But I still think that there is an ambiguity to the desire. Like it's not even about what the FA plans. It's about in my opinion, the lack of transparency. Like you don't have to say who we come up against, but at least say you desire. Like I don't know. Does the question go to the journalists who need to be in front of people saying why are we not coming up against opposition that's conducive to us being replicating, or not necessarily replicating fourth place, but replicating an admiration that doesn't end us like what we did in the Olympics. I think we're closer to what we did in the Olympics than we were to what we did in the 23 World Cup. And that's the scary part, is that Asia Cup was a perfect encapsulation of what we can do on both ways. The final was was a perfect encapsulation of what we can do and the worst of what we can do, which is shell in, not provide the attacking prowess or threat that we should be able to. And then the game against North Korea is the game where you think, all right, we can weather the storm, fight it out, and Sam Kerr our way through tournaments. And look, the Sam Kerr show, this is going to be probably the last rendition of the Sam Kerr show. That being said, I thought it was the last rendition of the EVE show, and she's still around. So maybe Sam Kerr will be around for the next World Cup. Exactly. It just like there is a lack of transparency from the FA. I think that's why the conversation needs to transition itself from the original conversations. It's like you talk to the average Australian person who will watch us in a World Cup, not watch games week in, week out like us, not watch football every week, not every week, every week. And you talk to them and they'll say, well, obviously Sam Kerr's starting. But if you asked me when Sam Kerr was coming back from her knee injury, who should start for the Matildas up front, it's not Sam Kerr with one leg. Now it's Sam Kerr, fine. But who's the answer after Sam Kerr? Who's the answer after Caitlin Ford? Who have we picked and chosen as the logical extensions? And then that question is, after who we've picked, how many caps do those players have at the age of 25? Exactly. Holly Max played 5 minutes. Has played 5 minutes against South Korea, or 0 minutes in Asia Cups, and then has played 85 minutes against Malawi alongside Jamila Rankin, who's now at Frankfurt.
And unfortunately,
you now
geography is the excuse that is used by the Federation.
I mean, I use that excuse for why they can't. Why they can't come here. But I ask why we can't go there. That's the argument.
And it's interesting because Brazil did come here, and we've had teams come here. I've seen some of the top opposition come to Australia.
Yeah, of course.
The US came to Australia.
We saw the French came here before the World Cup.
Well, I mean, that doesn't really count. They had to be here anyway.
I mean, but again, that game, what was it called? The playoff game. Yeah, that playoff game could have been anyone. Like, I know it was France because they were mandated to, but it could have been someone else, right? Like that's the point. Is that they don't have to, like, in my opinion, they don't have to come here. Yes, Chelsea's coming here to play against All Stars, but they don't have to come here. We have to go there. We're already over there. Like, those players are already over there doing a camp somewhere else. The Matildas at this point, I mean, as much as I would love to take the Brazil or Japan route and take players that are dub local coded, all the best dub players are now evacuating, right? The Tilly's camp is good enough to a point where the best players aren't coming from the dub anymore. Like, it's not. All the players that I thought should be in the camp that are from the dub have now left, which we'll get into in the next segment. But it's crucial. Like, the conversation is never going to be, for me, why do we not get Spain to come to Australia? Why do we not get England? And it can be that. I don't really like that conversation because I understand why they don't come. But why we we play England in England. We did play England in England. So who's next? Who's next in the next game? Why is it Malawi and Kenya? And not to say that there wasn't moments where like obviously I love that Chid's got her goal and we won 5-0. Great, but it's what does it actually do? What does that actually mean? And that it's a greater meaning behind the win than the actual win itself. It's a conversation for more. But I definitely agree with what you're saying, but I say it from a place of love, whereas you say it from a place of
love too. I say it from a place
well, I mean former love. It's former love, no?
It's more so I've seen
Do
this
you
team.
love the Matildas the way I love Kane?
We're not doing, that's a discussion for a whole other podcast.
Yes, it is. I mean, yeah, no, it's our intro to sponsorship pod where we talk about how did we get here?
Benchwarmers, sponsored by Combank Matildas.
Yeah, the Subway Matildas. They will always be Subway Matildas to me. But come on the pod. I decided to go through our Benchwarmers archives to see who we had frequent names. I could go back to Elizabeth Eddy, was a pretty iconic rant. We had 433 and Rising Ballers for all their baby naming crap. I mean, there was one recently, literally yesterday, Van Havermaet was doing keepy ups with her baby bump, and they said baller incoming. I'm like, yeah, because the baby chested it. The baby chested it down. I was like, Jesus Christ, guys, like, oh my God!
I cannot. No offense.
I love that someone gets paid. Someone gets paid to write future baller alert. That I think is generational. But Carly Lloyd also came up throughout the year for various comments, not just the World Cup stuff. But obviously I had to get my nibble in on Katrina Kulbite, Uzbekistan coach GOAT. Still our Yas queen, probably manager. Maybe she's WOSO manager of the season. Katrina Kulbite. Yeah, Uzbeki GOAT. But I am going to give it to what I think is most relevant now and was relevant then in the CAF, the African Federation, the Confederation of African Football. Basically because the WAFCON starts, as we are recording July 25th, the AFCON starts in 2 days. It was supposed to start 3 months ago, but 12 days before kickoff, they decided to just delay it in Morocco for unforeseen circumstances, allegedly unforeseen circumstances, quote unquote, because they ensure that the success of the women's competition in light of unforeseen circumstances, the stadiums aren't ready or something else, but it was supposed to be held in Morocco for a third consecutive tournament and it just didn't happen. And this is not the first time that the CAF did this. During the 2024 Paris Olympics, they were supposed to hold an African Confederations Cup as well, not the WAFCON, but a different one. But it got delayed, and then it was delayed to a time when the Olympics were on. So then they delayed it again, and then it just didn't happen, and they got into the next WAFCON, and that's when Nigeria won their next title, who've won 6 of the last 7 WAFCONs. And I'm excited for this WAFCON to get going, but CAF, I mean, like we complain about the AFC, and obviously Americans complain about the CONCACAF. I mean, I don't know why they win the CONCACAF Cup every single time, and they treat it like it's this generational trophy that matters in their international landscape because they beat Canada and Mexico. Yay to them. But the CAF has just been a disgrace to a continent of football that is only getting better, more impressive. You have players from the CAF getting nominated for Ballon d'Ors, namely the player of the tournament in last tournament, Chebak, was in the Ballon d'Or shortlist. So, I mean, these are players that are just neglected, albeit through ways of discrimination externally because they don't get the plaudits they get. Obviously, I think Ndosia is a top 5 goalie in the world who's won multiple WAFCONs but doesn't get the plaudits other than bar from us. And then strikers like, I mean, Imade, who's now Spanish, but was has Nigerian descent, Oshwala, like the history, Ajibade, top goal scorer in the last World Cup, who's playing her football now elsewhere. I mean, she was playing at Atleti for a while, but I don't know if she's still at Atleti or she was loaned out or what the deal is. But yeah, the CAF has a lot to answer for, the same way as you've said that the Federation has a lot to answer for here.
I think that we can, and we talked about this, do a whole investigation as to why women's football still struggles to leave the Eurocentrist sphere of and expand and start putting efforts into Africa or into South America. But I think if we just Occam's razor this, women's football consumption and the people who really care about women's football don't care about the African region. They don't care about African footballers. And really, unfortunately, and I do say this statement, and it will come off as I'm, commending Kang, but I'm not. I'm actually criticizing the whole ecosystem around this. But Kang has done something which is take the best African footballers and put them into European spaces. And she talks about how she wants to have a women's football team or an institution in every continent. And that, to me, that is really disturbing. I would not want a private investor to take away or to implant themselves in a region.
It's embarrassing that she's doing a better job than federations at putting the face or she's putting a face to it. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the vision of Kang Taktika and having some frozen ballers and Elsa with 5-star skills is what I dream of. I mean, and then Kang loans her off and she sings Let It Go. But that's just what my brain thinks about on a Saturday afternoon. But yeah, it's tragic. It's a tragic situation that we've come to this. The idea that the facilities and resources and stuff only come with Michelle Kang
and the mainstream
Incorporated.
Media do not care enough to report on it. The mainstream media do not care enough to pressure those in power. And at the end of the day,
but it extends beyond African ball. It goes to Caribbean ball. It goes to South American ball. Brazil are going to be big tournament hosts in 300 days, and they're going to be an amazing vibe and an amazing scene. But does it change the will it potentially change the fabric of WOSO in that country? I hope so. I would love a sporting and mega event to do that. That's what the Women's World Cup in 23 was supposed to do to Australia, and the Matildas effect is great. But have we seen wide-scale FA change? Have we seen major investment into grassroots / young baller academies in Australia to carve out the next 25, 30 years? Do we have a 100-year plan like Japan does for their football?
There won't be a 2010 equivalent for women's football in the next 20 years. An African country will not host the World Cup, and that in and of itself is a disgrace.
Oh,
and
I wish.
And that's where the women's game and the men's game is still so disproportionate.
I mean, we say it was 30. We say a lot that WOSO is 15 to 20 years behind Menso. I mean, 2010 was this time for Africa. We're going to 2030 is not in Africa, right? So that in terms of the generational gap, maybe that even doubles and it's 40 years behind, and we start looking at 2050 for a World Cup in a Women's World Cup in Africa, which I think would be absolutely spectacular for what it represents. I mean, I want the Vuvuzela back live in the flesh. I want Juju ball again. I want
men's football consumers are yearning for the traditional FIFA World Cups of the last 15 years, and that's what. And
how good was African countries in this tournament that just happened? 9 out of 10 of them making qualifications.
Nigeria beat Australia.
Nigeria smoked us in that game. I mean, beyond the Women's World Cup, in the men's, the African ball is being respected in a way that it should be. And obviously, I'll be sticking around listening to that trial of who wins the last AFCON. They're doing a final trial on whether Senegal or Morocco win that game, which I think is maybe my favorite moment in sport in the last few years. I think that game has just got so much in it. And it's also why WAFCON needs to have the respect it has, because it's an extension of that. It's the same stuff. It's just more pedigree that needs to be developed. I want to see young ballers come through. The same way I covered the under-19s Euros is the way I would cover WAFCON, where I want to see 19-year-olds come through. I want to see the best of the best come through, because they do. That some of the players that are in our respective teams through history and in Barcelona, in Lyon, these players come through. There is no Tabitha Chewinga, there is no Temwa Chewinga, there is no Oshwala, there is no Chebak, there is no Ndosia without the history of the WAFCON and the CAF. So they have the potential, the same way the AFC has potential, but God, do they let it down. And if there was someone who wants to talk to us and tell us why we are just words and not action, we will hear it. I would love it in a forum, or just let us know why you can't tell us why we don't get international ball when it's supposed to happen. But that is all we have for our end of season bench warmer awards, and that is all we have for part 1 of the podcast.